There's one event in the world of 9-ball that just keeps getting bigger and better. For 17 years, it's thrilled audiences either side of the Atlantic. There's no denying it's a passionate, intense, and scintillating contest where no quarter is given or taken. Heroes and villains have emerged from a cast of characters that would fill a Hall of Fame. Legends have been born as the reputations of some of the world's greatest players have risen and fallen with the tide of fortune. That is the Mosconi Cup. The idea for the Mosconi Cup grew out of the belief that the European rivalry with the USA could extend beyond the traditional Ryder Cup challenge. In fact, on closer inspection, there were some pretty intense rivalries, but few existed within the space of an official tournament. Q Sports and 9-ball pool in particular spotted the potential, and through one man's energy and drive, turned potential into reality with the Mosconi Cup. The tournament that was to follow quickly gained credibility as the greatest team prize in the world of 9-ball. The very first Mosconi may well have lacked the glamour of later events, but it certainly allowed the Americans to demonstrate the passion they felt for a trophy associated with the legendary Willie Mosconi. There's no denying that 9-ball has a special place in the American sporting arena. Team Europe relied heavily on snooker players. Steve Davis, Jimmy White, and Alex Higgins all featured, and accusations were made that they were treating this as an exhibition rather than a serious tournament. It was an accusation that would only ever rear its head in the very first year of the Mosconi, which the Americans went on to win.
2 balls away from the Mosconi Cup. Down he goes, the 9-ball then, to win the competition. What an honour for this super friendly, pleasant, talented American, Mark Wilson, to win it all. Down he goes, the Americans have done it. It's been a tremendous competition.
The idea that the Americans took it more seriously than the Europeans was laid to rest in the second year and warrants another look as part of the Mosconi's finest moments. Snooker stars Jimmy White, Alex Higgins, and Steve Davis all featured in the European lineup and all played a prominent role in a fine European victory. The combination of Steve Davis and Alex Higgins would whet the appetite of most snooker fans, and in 9-ball it proved even more appealing. Davis set the tone with a nail-biting sudden death victory over the mighty Mike Massey.
Little encouragement from the crowd. So Massey ball landing 2 inches off the cush. Well, Davis wins, and I think he's won every one of those. The lag-offs. Nothing awkward here, perfectly positioned. So a little use of the rail to come back about 3 feet from the... Yeah, we put a bit more... Yeah, beautiful angle to finish the American chances. And Davis does it! Takes it 2 sets to love at the end of this sudden death second set.
Ladies and gentlemen, your appreciation, please.
Davis picking up a valuable point for Europe, but the Americans weren't prepared to relinquish their hold on the trophy, and when Lou Butera was given the task of defending the crown, he gave the impression of a man in control of the Cup's destiny. But Jimmy White had other ideas.
Maybe not the sort of spirit the Marquis of Queensberry
would encourage, but Lowe could have blobbed at just the time Jimmy and the Euro team on the crowd want. We could be about 11 seconds. We're counting now. 8,
you can count it now, Sid.
5, 4, 3.
Jimmy's done it.
Mosconi Cup to Europe! Thanks to the whirlwind! Accepts an early Christmas present! Pandemonium!
The people's champion. And like I said, this script couldn't have been written any better. He's done it. White has won the Mosconi Cup from the Americans.
The Mosconi was starting to gain a certain reputation that extended beyond the world of cue sports. It certainly attracted the biggest names either side of the Atlantic. Europe had fielded big names from the world of snooker in the opening 2 years, and when Jimmy White dropped out, the Europeans were able to draw upon the mercurial talents of Ronnie O'Sullivan to fill the gap. The dream partnership of the legendary Steve Davis and a player many would come to regard as the most naturally talented player to ever grace the game, Ronnie O'Sullivan, was a fitting testimony to the rising status of the Mosconi Cup. It may not have been a winning year for Europe, but the combination of the two hinted at better times ahead for the Europeans. It was fitting that the final match featured both Davis and O'Sullivan, and telling that one of their opponents was Earl Strickland. The tournament featured a countdown clock, which, with the Americans ahead, clearly encouraged a more deliberate game plan.
He's the Alex Higgins of the pool world. A crowd favorite in America. The man that some people love to hate.
Brilliant shot! And look at the in-off! There's a punt! If we're going to be heard above the crowd, let's look at the table! This is for Europe. The ethos floated by Winston Churchill years ago, and Teddy took us in. This to set Euro cheers wildly echoing in Essex. This in their honour, Roger Griffiths, beaming.
Can't waste a few more minutes.
Earl shouts out, waste a few more minutes. No more waste! What goes Earl? And the Mosconi Cup, due to the queuing of the last 4 or 5 balls by their captain, returns to America.
Look at Earl Strickland. He loves to stir it up.
A second American victory in 3 years, despite the best efforts of Europe's finest. Coming up after the break, the Americans take the Mosconi to another level, and the one and only Earl Strickland hits the headlines. The Mosconi Cup has, over the years, warranted a very special place in the hearts of 9-ball fans around the world. The mix of transatlantic rivalry, committed competitors, and an enthralling sport have proved a winning formula. 3 years into the event, and a very colorful character entered the fray. Earl the Pearl Strickland was a character that typified the Mosconi. Fired up on a passionate belief in his chosen profession and committed to the stars and stripes, you either loved or hated him, but few doubted his talent. He made his debut in 1996. The Americans had just come off the back of their first defeat, which had shocked many 9-ball fans in the States. Strickland was instrumental in restoring American pride. Surprisingly, for one of the most gifted players in pool, Strickland would generate a Mosconi Cup record to compare with any. But he is best remembered for those moments when he raised the temperature with both fellow players and fans alike. In 2006, the tournament found itself in Holland, and Strickland once again found himself the center of attention. Europe had taken an 8-5 lead, so the Americans were starting to feel the pressure. The crowd in the ferry terminal Rotterdam were pretty vocal and created an atmosphere to rival your call. Strickland proved an easy target.
Yeah, that's one thing they say about Earl. The closer he gets to the finish line, the hotter the fire in his heart burns. He's left himself some length on this 7-ball. But length doesn't seem to bother the man.
And he doesn't have to do anything special with the white, Jerry. Oh, he just broke his cue. He's just snapped his cue. Look at this. That's an action you see all the time from Strickland. And so often he's in danger of breaking that cue.
Thank you. That's the first time I've ever seen Earl snap a stick in all these years.
Strickland went on to win that match, and the Americans as a team went on to achieve the draw that would allow them to retain the trophy. The following year, the American on home soil was locked in battle with Darrell Peach as he attempted to guide his beloved team to another victory. The tension had been slowly building throughout the match, each player laying claim and counterclaim, but both produced moments of brilliance to keep the crowd on the edge of their seats.
To get to the hill. And a 5-3 lead for Earl Strickland over Darrell Peach. He arrives to the hill here in Las Vegas, and Darrell Peach has something to say as well.
You need to settle down.
I moved when I shot the ball.
Not then he didn't. Not then.
Right before I got ready to shoot it.
Not that
like
one.
That.
Not that one. It wasn't him. It was somebody in the crowd on that one. All right. Okay.
All he wants to do is fight, guys.
Let's just settle it down. Listen. Earl.
This guy just threatened me to fight.
Earl, come on, look. I just need you to settle down, right? Listen to me. Just listen to me for a second.
He can't do that.
Just listen to me for a second.
He can't threaten me to fight.
Listen to me for a second, right? Just settle it down, okay? Right. Two of you, come here, please. Earl. Darrell.
Michaela is calling them out for a conference.
Right. This game has got to be played in the sportsmanly way that it should be, right? One thing by either of you, because that was out of line, and it will be a foul. It will be interfering with your opponent, so let's just keep it straight.
While Michaela Tagg restored some sort of order, Peach came up dry at the break, presenting Strickland with the chance to clear. In this highly charged atmosphere, he kept his composure.
Reeling that cue ball off that side cushion. Listen for the applause when this 9 drops. And down it goes. Earl Strickland over to shake Darrell Peach's hand, and Peach shakes it like the sportsman he is. And Melanie is happy, Ada's happy. Strickland has kept the USA alive in the 14th Mosconi Cup, a 6-3 win.
Strickland the winner, but Peach had the last word.
When I first started playing pool, he was one of my heroes because of his style of play and his shot making and everything about it. And he just, you know, he's gone down in my books big time.
Not only did Peach have the last word on that match, but the Europeans had the last word on the tournament, chalking up an historic win on American soil. 2008 was to prove Strickland's last appearance, and true to form, it proved as controversial as ever. He fought with the crowd and the opposition, none more so than Mika Immonen, with the man from Finland having the final say in a rather emphatic style.
And how about this? For a performance from Mika Immonen. Lost his doubles match with Mark Gray, came out, and he wouldn't allow Earl Strickland to bother the scorekeeper. A 5-0 whitewash. Strickland says, you played good, man. You deserve it.
Strickland and the Mosconi were inseparable for so many years. His record bears comparison with the best. he will always be associated with the greatest years for Team USA, but he was never shy of courting the odd controversial moment. In 1997, the Mosconi Cup made its debut in the York Hall, Bethnal Green. Renowned as a boxing venue, this unique building in London's East End had an atmosphere all of its own. For the next 6 years, it would play its part in the Cup's history. For some, the experience was overwhelming. For others, it inspired them. But whatever way you look at it, it was truly a great arena for 9-ball. The passion and tension got to one particular European, the very emotional Fabio Petroni. Making his debut in the competition, the very unique atmosphere of the York Hall overwhelmed the Italian before he had even struck a ball. He was playing alongside the legendary Steve Davis. Davis won the lag, but lost control of the white on the break. The American duo of Pierce and Davenport looked to have the rack in the palm of their hands, only for an uncharacteristic foul on the 8 to let the Europeans back in. And who should be called upon to pocket the 9 but Petroni?
Breathe that one in, you can see Kim's reaction. Oh, pandemonium and more drama than the old Vic, the new Vic and the Queen Vic. And Petroni's first shot, he's been in tears. His first shot in the Mosconi is to shop an easy, unexpected 9 for the drama to continue. But he's not crying about that one, Jim.
Davis and Petroni would go on to lose that match 7-5, but the very nature of the Mosconi meant that the man from Rome would be back in action. Once again, it was alongside Steve Davis. Petroni's entrance was a little more measured, and his performance a little more assured.
He's got to get over to the left or the right-hand side of the table as we look to leave the 6 on, so he's going to have to hit this with some force.
And that's why he's cleared the pocket, leaving only 1 in, so there's no spin round and shoot out. That is shooting.
The man of the moment.
You wouldn't believe the contrast in body language if a giraffe had turned into a dormouse. He is composed. He is deliberate. His eyes are steady, nibbling gum, and she is hoping but palpitating.
He can roll this in, stun off the side cushion, and leave himself plenty of angle on the 8 here. But once again, he knows how important these last 3 are. Just telling himself, no problem, Fabio. Hold it together. You've done this 100,000 times. They like it. You know he will.
Well, she has stand by your man all the way through. She's looked composed, but her makeup and hairstyle could get decidedly streaky. In about 10 seconds, Fabio keeping dry-eyed, cool. This for the game, and a wonder point. And a wonder egg, yes! Fabio does the biz!
As like a statue, he remains still. A dynamic performance from Fabio Petroni and Steve Davis. 7-2, they have disposed of Jim Rempe and Reed Pierce and gained a valuable point for the European side.
Overall, Petroni and Davis found themselves on the losing side. In fact, these were lean years for the European team. 1999 witnessed another American triumph, despite the fact that the Europeans were now fielding some incredibly strong contenders in the world of 9-ball. What these years represented were a foundation for later success, but at the time it didn't feel like it for a beleaguered European team. While the York Call should, on paper at least, have inspired the Europeans, it actually had the reverse effect. And in 2001, the Americans recorded their biggest winning margin. It still stands as the most one-sided score by any side, and it confirmed the years of American dominance and the need for a massive European shakeup. The tournament was summed up by Jeremy Jones, who put in a flawless display against one of Europe's strongest players, Ralph Souquet.
Well, Jeremy's done everything the American team could possibly ask of him. And now he's got this one little simple 9-ball to take a 5-1 victory over Ralph Souquet, the great Kaiser.
After 6 years of being at the wrong end of the scoreboard, including the horrors of that 12-1 scoreline, Europe needed to answer their critics, and in 2002 they did just that. It was fitting that Davis would have the final say over his old rival, Earl Strickland. In this race to 12, Europe were just a point away from overall victory. Strickland had the task of holding the European charge at bay, Davis of clinching a historic second Mosconi Cup triumph.
Earl's come to the wrong side of the table for this shot.
Sure has, and he came very near. The scratch. Junior for comfort there.
Well, this is really tough. You can see Earl's extremely disappointed with his effort. He says he's choked.
And the
down,
effect
please.
on them, pretty effective as well.
Wow, what a moment. Earl cannot believe the path that he put that cue ball on. He nearly scratched, very, very nearly scratched in that side pocket that's been eating white balls.
Here he comes. Just thinking of taking it to the blind pocket.
This is one tough shot, Sid.
Going rightward.
Earl has missed this shot.
Oh my goodness! He feathered it! The Euro team can't believe it! Knocking the Americans! Davis can now step in and win the Mosconi Cup!
Settle down, please.
Davis,
Thank you.
3 strokes away from the Mosconi Cup. This crowd is just going crazy.
And just like a French can-can line of dancers, the Europeans are lining up for a victory dance. The travel for him should be very simple, to the 9.
He has a huge area he can leave this cue ball in. Folks, it's all over. Steve Davis brings the Mosconi Cup home to the shores of Europe with the drop of this 9-ball.
Yes! Siree! Bob Tag! President Bush! Are you watching in the White House? Are you watching on the West Coast and the East Coast? Are you watching in Manila? Efren and the boys! The Americans go out because Europe has got the Mosconi for the second time.
Coming up after the break, the Mosconi takes a leap of faith and hits the big time in Vegas. And Europe start to find their voice on the greatest stage in the world of 9-ball. The Mosconi Cup is 9-ball's answer to golf's Ryder Cup, a classic Europe versus the USA confrontation. Established in Britain, the dream of the Mosconi was to play alternate years either side of the Atlantic. In 2003, that became a reality, and there was no finer stage than the glitz and glamour of Vegas. The European team arrived in Vegas full of confidence for the 2003 staging, but the Americans weren't in a mood to roll over, especially as they were playing on home soil for the first time. The Europeans made them work for their victory, but the Americans, stung into action, responded with a stunning display that allowed them to eventually run out 11-9 winners. The Mosconi took another historic step with the first ever staging in Holland. Steve Davis took center stage for the Europeans, but was unable to stem the tide as Rodney Morris rose to the top, claiming the MVP along the way, with Charlie Williams sealing the deal.
Charlie Williams making the most of the moment, about to set American hearts aflutter.
There you go! They're over the bleachers! Rodney Morris, their star MVP, leads the Bear Hugs. America retain the Mosconi Cup by 12 chalks to 9.
Back in Vegas the following year, and a certain formality overtook the event as the teams donned official blazers to be presented to the press. But the result was a familiar one as the Americans recorded another win. After an all-too-familiar scoreline in Vegas, the Europeans were back on home soil and back in Holland with a star-studded cast and a real chance to reverse a rapidly developing losing trend. They battled hard to eventually push themselves into a position where the winning post was within touching distance. The man charged with taking them over the line was the very experienced and talented Mika Immonen. It's a race to 5, and Immonen is at the table.
One hand on the Mosconi Cup for Team Europe.
Immonen now trying to quell the butterflies. Needs to put the import of the moment out of his mind and get back on the table.
Jerry, if the 2 passes the 9 to the bottom corner, Mika's got the perfect angle on the 1 to just drop onto it as he's done.
Yeah.
And he's got a great angle here to just stun that cue ball up for the 4 next. And important that he leaves an angle on the 4 to get back below the 8 and the 9 for the 5.
He needs to go past the side pocket
Extension call
by at least a foot to get the proper shape on the 4. No more extensions.
And that guarantees the angle on the 4. And now he's got to hold himself together.
Settle down.
Because everyone will start to edge to the end of their seats as Mika approaches it. And he's got to rein in his emotions here, Jerry.
He would have liked that cue ball to stop about 2 inches closer to the rail, but he should still be able to maneuver and get in line with this 6. Drawing back up off the side rail, right in line. But again, he appears to be straight.
Well, is he going to try and stun this down? Just kind of a stun draw back down the center of the table. And here's a chance. He could make the 9 here because he's going to be bumping it towards the other corner.
Europe just 2 balls away now from claiming the Mosconi Cup.
Oh no, he's misjudged it. Would you believe it?
Thank you.
Oh, and Europe is
Thank you.
stunned, and you have to believe that a flame of hope has been lit in America's heart. Mika and Johan cannot believe what has happened, and the shot clock is ticking, and Immonen has no extensions. He's got to play.
He's missed it. But how's the speed? He needs it up and away from that pocket. He tosses the rest down in disdain.
Extension called.
Let's revisit this for you now. Immonen, as he suffers in his chair, should Davis sink this ball, it'll be 12-11. If America wins the next match, they will retain the cup because it'll be a tie. And the Mosconi Cup has to be won.
He's missed it. It was never going to be easy, and it still isn't.
Thank you. Quiet, please.
What a final paragraph we are looking at here, if in fact it is the final paragraph. European team in the wings. Double kiss, and he's left the 9 over the side.
That shot can be made. And Mika knows it. This shot is possible. It's thin, but it can certainly be made.
And the only danger here, if he hits it a little too thick, the cue ball is going to be headed towards that corner pocket.
9 seconds left to pull this shot off and keep America in it.
Yes! Watch the cue ball. Yes! Oh, they've kept their hopes alive. What a reversal of fortune for Team USA.
The pressure of the Mosconi Cup can get to even the greatest players, but while one opportunity had slipped through their grasp, the next match would present another tournament-winning scenario. It was now a must-win encounter for both sides. Corey Deuel, a rack away from victory, and the draw that would allow them to retain the trophy.
He's missed it.
And his shoulder went on a holiday when he hit that one. Completely moved on that shot.
Yeah, now Katie takes his chair, but he got lucky.
Well, Corey's playing this one right away. He got a little lucky with the leave. This is an easy escape, and one that should be exercised with a modicum of control on the cue ball. 2 cushions. And it may go in.
It does go in.
Well, I don't know if Corey wanted that.
No, you know he didn't, because he is blocked. You can see his reaction.
What about the jump shot here? Over the edge of the 9?
Yeah,
is the short cue coming out?
He's got a timeout that he can use.
Extension.
He's called for his extension now.
Has he fluked the 6 too?
He has indeed.
Listen to Corey Deuel. Watch it again. If it didn't go in, it was only ever going to be over the pocket, and he's got a shot at the 7. And I think this one's done, Jerry.
It may well be. Position off of the 8 ball, all important now. He wants to leave himself a very simple shot on the 9 to keep the Mosconi Cup on his side of the ocean.
And the 9. And Corey Deuel isn't going to miss this one, folks.
The first ever draw in the Mosconi denied Europe a victory that many felt they deserved, but the Americans refused to give up and fought to the bitter end. Their reward, to hang on to that famous trophy for at least another year. After the drama of Holland, the tournament traveled back across the water to Vegas, and 2 incredibly strong teams went head-to-head. The Americans, after surviving Rotterdam, felt the cup was theirs for the asking. The Europeans were filled with a growing confidence and a team littered with past and present world champions. The opening day backed up the American assumption as they took a 4-1 lead. But on day 2, a new European hero emerged, and one who harked back to the early days of the European Mosconi adventures, the ex-snooker player Tony Drago. He led from the front and guided Europe to 5 straight wins to draw level with the Americans. The third day confirmed that the momentum was with the Europeans as they stormed into a 3-point overnight lead. And once again, it was that man Drago who was involved in all that was good about the European effort. As the final day dawned, Team USA needed to stem the tide. Mosconi stalwarts Strickland and Morris attempted to stave off the European charge, but to no avail. Drago was unstoppable. The tension was evident, none more so than during the notorious clash between Strickland and Peach. But it was that veteran of the Mosconi, Ralph Souquet, who found himself with a chance to seal the deal.
He's following through. Very tough.
His pocket could reject this ball. And it does.
Johnny Archer played a shot like that in his match. He got it, but he had to hit it so hard. And Ralph Souquet was faced with the same proposition. And I guarantee you, Morris is just happy to get back to the table.
Absolutely. And you have to question what kind of mental damage that result does to Ralph, because he fully expected to get through that rack and win the Mosconi Cup right then.
But I'll tell you what a roll Ralph got there. That couldn't have landed any worse. Same sort of shot.
Oh, but tougher.
Much tougher. Ralph will be banking this into the left-hand corner. There's no way he can try and thump this in. He's got to try and bank this into the left-hand corner. He's coming down to have a look at it. And again, trying to avoid the double kiss here is the key, Jerry, but he's got to be banking this into the top left.
I agree, and watch how close the balls are going to pass. He's made it!
What a shot for Souquet! He'll hold himself together for 2 more balls.
This crowd can't wait to go nuts.
They waited 5 years to celebrate.
Easy with all hanging, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Ralph knows it. The victory dance is going to start. And it starts with the disappearance of that 9.
Europe had the trophy in their hands, but were haunted by the fact that they had never managed to defend the Mosconi. After the break, the Europeans attempt to do just that as the tournament heads back to its spiritual home in the East End of London. The tale of the Mosconi Cup has always been shrouded in drama, sporting excellence, and a fine sense of history. Europe had for so long been battling the Americans and coming up short, but in 2007 they had succeeded. Now, the big question was, could they defend their newly acquired trophy, or would the Americans regain what they considered to be theirs? History favored the Americans. The Mosconi Cup arrived in Malta, home to Tony Drago, who had been the hero 12 months previously, but in 2008 he was overshadowed by a teammate, Mika Immonen. Drago, under pressure to perform, struggled to hit the heights, but he still showed glimpses of his 2007 form, much to the frustration of Earl Strickland. The cast list was rich in characters, none more so than that man Strickland, who was at his controversial best. Fired up and as passionate as ever, this was not to be his tournament. His form certainly didn't match his temperament, as the clash with Mika Immonen demonstrated. Europe, inspired by a home crowd, felt the weight of history. At times it inspired, at others it hindered. But by hook or by crook, they worked their way to a commanding lead. How fitting that Mika Immonen, the man who had the chance to win it 2 years previously, should have the opportunity to redeem himself. The overall score poised at 10-5. Immonen had powered into a 4-3 lead, and in this race to 5, the tension was evident. The ideal environment for a player labeled the Iceman.
Oh, this is when that arm gets heavy.
This is when anxiety and concentration, sometimes divorce, you know, we say to be able to play and play successfully, you have to play like it means nothing when it means everything. Never will that hold truer than right now for Immonen.
Cue ball has stopped just far enough off the rail so that Immonen has access to the entire cue ball.
But he's got a slow roll this, Jerry, and that's when nerves are exposed.
Well, if his nerves are rattling, we're sure not seeing any evidence of it.
And they're ready. Ralph on the right, Niels, look at them. They're ready to storm the stage here.
Five balls away. One ball for each member of the team that he represents. This will be a moment that Mika will remember forever.
He will savor every shot should he complete the clearance here, Jerry. He listed on his bio as one of his biggest disappointments missing that shot in Rotterdam that would have secured the Mosconi Cup for Europe. And who would begrudge Mika Immonen, one of the game's real nice guys, a moment in the sun here?
Well, still a little work to be done. The 7 ball obviously goes into that corner pocket, but the cue ball is going to be moving dead away from the 8 ball. He has really got to make this ball run. He's drawn it back. What a shot!
Look at this, and perfect angle. Control your emotion.
One shot away from glory.
Shot. Look at him. The celebration starts now. History made here in Malta, and for the first time, Europe defend the Mosconi Cup. A resounding 11-5 win for Team Europe over Team USA.
Immonen's contribution was duly recognized as he was voted the MVP. After the 2008 loss, Earl Strickland, who had become a Mosconi Cup institution, was dropped. The team took the opportunity to revamp its selection process and introduced a unique feature. The public was given the chance to vote players in, one of whom went on to steal the show. The passionate, emotionally charged, and fiercely competitive Dennis Hatch. Hatch seized the opportunity, determined not to let the American public down. Niels Feyen felt the full force of the Hatchet Man. The Dutchman was left in a daze and at the wrong end of a 6-0 scoreline.
Once they hit it soft, and he missed that. This is it. That'll work.
Look at him. He knows it. And so do we.
Whoa.
A 6-0 whitewash. Dennis Hatch over Niels Feyen.
A performance that took his side to within a point of ultimate victory, a victory that was rapidly secured. The combination of Vegas and the fire of Dennis Hatch was an irresistible force. Europe had to come up with an answer, and it came from an unexpected corner. The European answer was a return to that tried and tested venue in the heart of London's East End. The York Hall had witnessed plenty of success for the Americans back in the 1990s, but in its final year, the Europeans had won, and with a real upturn in their form, it was felt this old and trusted venue may just make the difference. The lineup from both sides reflected the status this tournament had achieved over the years. Ralph Souquet, Mika Immonen, and Johnny Archer could all now be classified as legends of the Mosconi Cup. The German would go on to add the final touches to the overall result, a fitting tribute to a European great. But in a sense, the whole tournament hinged on one game. Not only did it involve two highly competitive players, Dennis Hatch and Darren Appleton, but also the unique atmosphere that only the York Hall can provide. Both teams were level on points after the opening 12 matches, and in this particular game, both players have shared the spoils through the first 8 racks. At one stage, Appleton was 4-1 down, but the Englishman's dogged determination took the game to a final and decisive rack.
That's where he wants the cue ball.
This might be overhit.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
Jay, I'm not too sure. I don't think he can see this 8. And he can. He's overhit it. And his reaction causes the fans to cheer.
Boy, what a mental blunder that was, Jimmy.
He's just called for his extension, Jay.
I don't think he can spin that. He's trying to do it. This is like a half masse with a lot of left English.
Thank you.
No reason for him to leave himself snookered on this 8. He had plenty of room to work.
This ball can be missed, let me tell
That's
you.
enough, please. Reset the clock.
He's going for his jump cue.
Start the clock.
Nope. He just couldn't spin that ball enough, Jimmy.
I don't think the Americans can believe it. It looked like Hatch was home and dry. Just played it with a bit too much speed, Jay. Didn't let the spin take.
Well, the adrenaline was pumping a little too hard. And Dennis has got nobody to blame but himself, Jimmy.
Oh, you got to feel for him, though.
Thank you.
He is talking to himself right now.
Extension.
But he hasn't left Darren Appleton a sitter. This is far from over the pocket.
Well, he should be glad he gets another turn at the table. He's going to shoot the 8 in the top left pocket here.
Just resetting. Top left, and he's taking the cue ball into the 9.
Looks good. Looks good. It is good.
Not since the first match has Europe enjoyed the lead, and Darren Appleton has fought back from 4-1 down, and once again Europe is in front, shakes the hand of Dennis Hatch, but the celebration for a huge win, Team Europe. If you didn't know better, you'd think Darren Appleton just won the lottery.
After that stunning victory, Europe were inspired and went on to win the trophy by a scoreline more often associated with the Americans, 11-8. Such moments are what the Mosconi is all about. Moments of inspiration, moments of magic, moments of pure drama. The Mosconi Cup really is a sporting spectacle like no other.